every single person needs to have their own internet connection. This is not just like, oh, I can sort of get the building-wide Wi-Fi if I stand near my front door. No, you should have your own internet connection that you can plug in and watch TV or set up a computer to do your work. That's really what digital equality is.
This is episode 264 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. I'm Lisa Gonzalez. Episode 264 takes us to San Francisco, home to the Golden Gate Bridge, cable cars, and monkey brains. Preston Ray and Mason Carroll from the internet service provider are here to tell us about the local company, the services they provide in the Bay Area, and the work they're doing to chip away at the digital divide. Learn more about the company at monkeybrains.net. As a reminder, this conversation with Preston and Mason is commercial-free, but our work at ILSR requires funding. Please take a moment to contribute at ilsr.org. If you've already contributed, thank you. Now here's Christopher with Preston Ray and Mason Carroll from Monkey Brains.
Welcome to another edition of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. I'm Chris Mitchell with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. Joining me today is Preston Ray, Senior Field Engineer for Monkey Brains, an ISP in California. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
And we also have Mason Carroll, Lead Engineer for Monkey Brains. Welcome to the show as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So I think the first question is Monkey Brains. I remember running into those in a Harrison Ford movie a long time ago. What is Monkey Brains in San Francisco?
Monkey Brains is a local internet service provider. We're a wireless ISP or WISP, and we're basically entirely within the city of San Francisco, just providing internet for everyone from residences to businesses to large buildings.
So when you say wireless ISP, does that mean you're delivering things over Wi-Fi, or how exactly does it work, Preston?
Our primary mode of delivering the internet is through wireless point-to-point and point-to-multipoint rooftop antennas. So that's, terrestrial point-to-point, and we'll go up on a rooftop and set up a dish and align it to a dish that's somewhere else. And then ultimately everything, of course, goes back to fiber and to the greater internet. But those wireless links allow us to be really flexible, and they do quite a bit of bandwidth as well.
So we've previously interviewed people from NetBlazer, which is a similar effort in Boston, and WebPass, which is a competitor of yours in San Francisco. Is there anything really different about Monkey Brains, Mason, that other WISPs may not be doing?
I think traditionally WISP is generally a solution for people in rural areas. In rural areas, generally there's not been a lot of maybe it's not high capacity infrastructure. So, you can deploy a radio link over any distance and get connectivity. Monkey Brains is a little bit different, where we're an urban WISP, so we're only in the city of San Francisco. We actually have a few links in Oakland. The value that wireless provides in San Francisco, for example, is that it's quite challenging to, add fiber in the streets due to permitting issues and just the fact that, it's a dense city, so you can't just dig up the street to add fiber. So you have an economy like San Francisco where the economy is booming, and, someone moves into a warehouse building, there's no high-speed internet available. Or maybe they have a DSL capability there, but they need a full gigabit per second. So what's nice about the wireless technology and what Monkey Brains can do is, in the matter of 48 hours if necessary, we can come out, install a licensed radio link in a point-to-point topology, and we can deliver full gigabit speed really, really quickly. And it's a great solution if pulling fiber to the building isn't really feasible. And also our customers tend to find that a lot of times we have customers who say, oh, we're ordering fiber to our building, we're just going to get Monkey Brains for 3 months until the fiber comes in. We deliver the internet, and then 3 months later, their fiber's not in. 6 months later, they've hit more delays. And then a year later, they're like, actually, this service that Monkey Brains has been providing is extremely reliable. This fiber contract is exorbitant, and they've been missing deadlines. So we're actually just going to stick with Monkey Brains as our primary uplink.
Well, I've certainly heard a lot of good stories over the years about monkey brains, but the reason that we wanted to have you on now, finally, what pushed me over the edge was seeing, Preston, your name, as someone I'm familiar with from having been with the Open Technology Institute at New America, and seeing this really interesting project in Hunters Point with the low-income housing units. So, Preston, can you tell us what's going on there?
Sure. There has been a lot of redevelopment of public and affordable housing throughout the city and county of San Francisco in a program called RAD. And this program has sort of opened up some possibilities for reassessing how services are provided at publicly supported housing. So the Hunters Point East-West Apartments, which is spread across 2 sites in the Hunters Point neighborhood of San Francisco, came to our attention a little over a year ago in February of 2016, thanks to Cami Grip at the Community Technology Network, who pointed out that the housing authority there, the San Francisco Housing Development Corporation, was looking to use some grant money they got from the mayor's office to provide internet, basically. They wanted Wi-Fi at these at the housing that they were renovating. And when we got wind of it, we decided to do something really interesting and different, because just like a lot of providers, if the internet is an afterthought, because they think of the internet, of course, as something that another provider will come in and provide, and oftentimes privately in some way, or they think that we'll just throw up some Wi-Fi access points and everyone's going to have service and it's going to be great, we decided to do something that utilizes our expertise in hooking up, direct in customers and saying, well, actually, if the infrastructure is right, we could provide extremely high-speed internet directly to each unit of Hunters Point without managing Wi-Fi access points. We could actually provide just a plug-in your own router, and you could get a gigabit of internet just like that. And so we worked out what that would look like, and we've been doing that work for some time now. There's phased redevelopment that's occurring across the 27 buildings at Hunters Point. So just the other week, finally, after a lot of wrangling of the infrastructure and working with the folks who are doing the reconstruction there, we managed to light up the first several dozen units in Hunters Point, and that's really exciting to see those really fast internet speeds coming out of their walls.
Well, I saw in an article about it that you'll ultimately be doing 212 units, which is more than 300 people in just this kind of phase, but that in time you're going to be actually servicing more than 1,000 units.
Yeah, that's right. So at Hunters Point East-West, there's 212 units, but we also managed to get in on a grant series called the California Advanced Services Fund that the State Public Utilities Commission offered in order to work with a couple of other housing providers to provide very high-speed internet to a bunch of other properties in the city. So I think we've already completed a couple of those properties, a couple of women's shelters, and we've got a whole bunch coming online through the Tenderloin Neighborhood Development Corporation, which has properties throughout the Mission and through the Civic Center and Tenderloin area in San Francisco.
What's really different about the story, Preston kind of hit on it, but I want to just bring it home, is that, a lot of times in these public housing projects, they want to set up wireless access points, but we really believe that in order to properly address digital divide issues, every single person needs to have their own internet connection. This is not just I can sort of get Wi-Fi, the building-wide Wi-Fi if I stand near my front door. No, you should have your own internet connection that you can plug in and watch TV or, set up a computer to do your work. That's really what, digital equality is, especially in these low-income housing. There's building-wide Wi-Fi, but some of the, no matter what kind of wireless solution you deploy, there's going to be dead areas. And if you can deliver proper broadband, you actually give people the ability to, cancel their expensive, cable TV packages and whatnot. And, if you can, the people who live there, if they can save $100 a month and not order, a cable connection, that, that $100 a month makes a really big impact in that community.
To remind people, you're running very high capacity links to the roof and then using the structured wiring to deliver individual circuits to each person, so that, if you had that shared campus Wi-Fi as you're discussing, a neighbor that may have 3 kids that are all streaming could really put a dent into that Wi-Fi capacity, whereas the approach that you're discussing, you would not have that problem because the congestion would be occurring basically, if it did at all, on the highest capacity links, where I'm guessing you'd want it to occur.
Yeah, and I think generally when people are having problems with getting on the internet, I think a lot of times they say, you're my neighbor's using up all the bandwidth. But in reality, the issue is more likely to be just based on their location and their proximity to the wireless access points and other noise factors and whatnot. They just have a bad connection to the wireless access point. And those kind of problems are just extremely hard to troubleshoot. I mean, everyone probably has had problems, just bizarre problems with Wi-Fi in their own homes or in their offices that they work at. And it's really as much an art as a science, setting up Wi-Fi. And if you actually have your own Ethernet connection, your own Ethernet port, you actually have the ability to, if you're having connectivity issues, you actually have the ability to work on it yourself. And, at the end of the day, if you could plug your computer directly into it.
How much is Monkey Brains charging the people in these units for service?
It's going to be $0 per month for all residents.
And Mason, how long is that going to last? Is that like kind of forever kind of thing, or is this a trial basis, or what's the expectation?
For the Hunters Point East West, the property management company is committed to paying us $10 per month per unit for, I think, a couple years. And then after that, we may end up just donating bandwidth. I'm not really sure about the financial aspect of that. Maybe Preston remembers that better.
Yeah, to speak to that, that's right. And also because we got to upgrade we were originally just going to do Hunters Point, sort of on our own contract with using that grant money from the mayor's office that SFHDC has. But thanks to getting a CASF grant from the state, they're able to extend more of that money into paying for service for more years. But it'll be charged at that rate to the housing provider for 5 years, which is the term that the CASF grant requires. The same, it has to be the same cost basically to residents for 5 years, and then after that, a lot changes in 5 years. But I think that we definitely have as a company a commitment to providing an affordable housing rate, and we're targeting that rate depending on the situation, $10 or free per unit per month.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Monkey Brains is prepared to do it for free, but we're hoping to continue to try to apply for some grant money to help fund it. Obviously, we're not really making any money on this project, but we really think it's important to be good citizens, and also, we're hoping to, moving forward, just get a seat at the table in the discussion about broadband in the future of the city of San Francisco. And I think we're getting a lot of attention and goodwill.
I've never built or run a network like this, but I've been trying to get a better sense of the costs involved. And my impression is, and I'd just like you to correct anything that I get wrong, but my impression is that when you do have this kind of one-time grant funding, that $10 a month is going to basically cover your costs. And so Monkey Brains would be able to do this, at a loss, as you said, if you charge nothing. But if you're able to recover a reasonable fee per household, then this is something that could work and is not going to really be a drain on your business such that it would be unsustainable. And that's always my fear. I mean, I love it if we could do it for free, but my concern is always, can we make this work indefinitely? And at $10 a month, if you can get some grant money to build the upfront infrastructure and perhaps some amount to refresh it, I'm curious if that works out.
Well, also, yeah, and what's really important for the success of these projects is, we call it in the industry uniformity of service. If we're managing 1,000 internet connections, you want them all to be more or less the same. And so in order to do that, it's really important for these housing authorities to go ahead and, install Cat5 in every single unit. So there's an RJ45 little Ethernet port in the unit, and that wire runs to a panel in the telephone room of the building. We can just install an Ethernet switch. It's easy to understand. It's easy to troubleshoot. It's reliable. If the housing authorities invest in that infrastructure when they're renovating the buildings, it actually enables us to deliver the service for really cheaply. Whereas, we work in a lot of older buildings where, for example, there's no modern wiring. So we have a lot of tricks up our sleeves to deliver internet over old wiring. But, to be honest, it's not as reliable and easy to manage, and there's a lot more cost and hassle with supporting it. So if they invest the money up front to build the modern wiring, it allows us to provide a phenomenal gigabit internet product for very low cost, regardless of who pays for it.
I think the housing and urban development folks under the Obama administration in 2016, I think it was just recently, right toward the end of the administration, made that a requirement. And I think that still stands. So let's hope so, because the more we can make it easy for ISPs to solve this problem, the less we would need to do in terms of public funding. Now, I'm curious, Preston, have there been any surprises when you talk about Hunters Point being an area that's being redeveloped? Are these new units that are being built? Are they rehabbed? Or, has there been any issue in terms of any challenges that were unexpected?
They're rehab units, Chris. I think that originally the Hunters Point East-West apartments were built as Navy housing because there was a big naval base in that area on Hunters. So they were turned into public housing afterwards. So what's happening is that basically folks that have lived there for a while, and then they're relocated while the renovation's done, which takes just maybe less than 6 months, and then they're moved right back in. There's not like new buildings going up. Those same buildings that have been there are being redone, which has also sort of gotten us to look at exactly these infrastructural nuances that Mason was talking about, and like what is the level of service and what is the level of infrastructure that makes it feasible for an ISP to provide, a regular level of service like that at that sort of lower cost.
It's very interesting, and it's really great to hear that these decisions are being made, that we're getting really high quality service for people who we want to make sure have all the educational opportunities, abilities to apply for jobs and access government services. I want to turn now, though, to what San Francisco is discussing openly, which is perhaps building a significant amount of fiber that would be ideally open to multiple ISPs such as yourself around the city. And I'm curious if you have anything you'd like to share in terms of thoughts about that process.
Yeah, I know that there's sort of several efforts happening right now to discuss, once again, the question of publicly funded or publicly supported broadband network. Of course, San Francisco infamously had an effort through Earthlink back about 10 years ago that did not work out so well. But they're looking at it again, both the supervisors and the Department of Technology. And I think that, we don't know what final form their work is going to take or their recommendations are going to take. But I believe that from our perspective, it is good to have more infrastructure. It is good for the city to have more modern and well-managed infrastructure. And fiber, of course, certainly closer to the core is the right thing. I would personally think it's great for residents when there is like more effective ways for them to get service, because it improves choice and can lower cost, as we of course saw in Chattanooga when eventually incumbent providers, after the city offered gigabit fiber, started saying, well, we'll offer gigabits of fiber, and then that's like kind of a virtuous thing. But I believe that ultimately what we would like to see for Monkey Brains as well as for residents is an opportunity for existing providers like Monkey Brains to plug in with a publicly supported fiber network that will improve our ability to sort of do what we do best, which is the last mile, and customer management, going directly to people, managing a relationship with them, providing them a handoff right at their house or at their business, and using really well supported public infrastructure in order to do ultimately the connection back to the internet from some point in the neighborhood or on the block.
You want to add anything, Mason?
I think the city basically has a lot of fiber assets. They're not really utilized for the public use. So they basically have a decision. They're like, okay, are we going to go with option one, essentially just create an ISP and just sell, internet to individual customers and businesses and institutions? Or since they already have the fiber, they've already been managing it for public safety, do they just lease that fiber to local ISPs, and then you maybe have only 7 or 8 customers all leasing fiber from the city of San Francisco, and it might be a little bit easier for them to manage a project like that without having to deal with supporting thousands of individual customers. It's essentially a little business within the Department of Technology. So either way they go, I think it's great. If they build all the fiber and never do anything with it, then it's money poorly spent. So, but if you can provide cheap service to residents either directly or by lowering the cost for ISPs and increasing competition for ISPs, I think that's only going to benefit residents in the long term. So we support whatever effort and whatever form they decide to go with on it.
I want to jump on something that Mason just said as well, when he pointed out that there's all these fiber assets. And of course, we saw a letter from Supervisor Mark Farrell that he requested sort of an analysis maybe about a year ago of what the city's fiber assets are. And of course, we've heard this story before across cities, across political entities that manage infrastructure like fiber. It turns out there's hundreds of miles that are spread across many different departments, own in some way or are responsible for that fiber. And all of them don't necessarily know at the moment exactly where it is, where it goes, because maybe even a lot of it was pulled decades ago. And where that fiber is sits in some deep archival vault, hasn't been digitized where it is. So I want to also emphasize that there's sort of a parallel issue here, who is the infrastructure for? And this is at the crux of why I'm really excited about what Monkey Brains is doing at Hunters Point and and also at these other public housing projects and trying to expand our work for residents who live in affordable housing. If there's an amount of money to be spent, especially in the public interest, when that money is being spent, it's an investment in the way that that infrastructure is going to be used for a very long time. And if that money is spent on fiber that will go nowhere and that will go a lot of places but never gets lit up, never actually serves people, or maybe say only serves businesses and certain city functions but doesn't serve the 15% of San Franciscans that don't have regular access to an internet connection, then that hardens the digital divide. There was an investment made in hardening the digital divide. And the same is true if the infrastructure that is being redeveloped at these public housing sites, or really in any sort of place where people live and work and play, if the investment is made in such a way that the infrastructure is not modernized with an eye at enabling everybody, especially those who lack access now, to have a meaningful, top-of-the-line and affordable or free at the point of use access to a free and open internet, then that has also hardened the digital divide. So what we're trying to do here, and we are really lucky to be able to do this in the San Francisco broadband infrastructure market, we are trying to influence the development and the investment of these funds into making sure that modern infrastructure is built so that we think of the people who live in affordable housing at the same level or even primarily above the people who have some means of getting fast internet access right now in businesses and in private homes.
It's really great to hear you saying that, because that's the kind of spirit we want to have in terms of being focused on solving the ultimate problems. And I think for people who are listening from other areas, it is important to note San Francisco has more ISPs than almost any other city in terms of really credible ISPs that are making important investments. So, this discussion about San Francisco may not apply to all other cities, but I'm very glad to hear that you're in the mix, and I certainly hope that the investments will be well made and enable firms like yours to do well. Preston, I just wanted to ask a totally unrelated question, which is, I became aware of you when you were working with OTI, the Open Technology Institute, a program that I was fascinated by, because one of the things that I wondered if it was doing was basically giving an opportunity to people who wanted to figure out how to use their technical skills to really make the world a better place and giving them, a place to sort of meet other people and then expand. And I'm just curious if you can say, like, did OTI have an important role in terms of moving you into a place where you're able to do these kinds of investments and work for a company like Monkey Brains?
I'm really pleased you asked that question, Chris, because I've thought about that a lot as we've been doing this work at Monkey Brains. And I think that the answer is absolutely. I feel like I gained through the work that we did at the Open Technology Institute, and we did a lot of work directly with communities who were eager to build their own infrastructure in Detroit and in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and with a lot of BTOP grants in Philadelphia. To be present, developing a pedagogical approach to understanding, building, and controlling infrastructure, and recognizing like what's important to people at those points. So the internet is not thought of something that like I'm going to pay somebody some money just like that and it's there, but like a deeper question of, what is my relationship to this infrastructure and what do I want to get out of it? I'm really thankful that I was able to take a route of gaining that perspective and education, doing that organizing, and then take that to a place where the infrastructure gets built every single day, like quite a bit of it gets built every single day. I really am just thankful that I am able to be at a place like Monkey Brains where we can take those values and sort of apply them to the built environment. I hope that we continue to do that and at greater scale as time goes on.
Great. Well, thank you both for taking the time and for this work. I think, we'll hopefully see a lot of other ISPs seeing that you can make this work and making it happen. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
That was Preston Ray and Mason Carroll from Monkey Brains, a San Francisco-based internet service provider. We have transcripts for this and other Community Broadband Bits podcasts available at muninetworks.org/broadbandbits. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org with your ideas for the show. You can follow Chris on Twitter. His handle is @CommunityNets. You can also follow the muninetworks.org stories on Twitter. The handle is @muninetworks. Subscribe to this podcast and the other ILSR podcasts, Building Local Power and the Local Energy Rules podcast. Access them on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Never miss out on our original research. Subscribe to our monthly newsletter at ilsr.org. Thank you to Arnie Huseby for the song Warm Duck Shuffle, licensed through Creative Commons. And thanks for listening to episode 264 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast.